Greetings and welcome to another video by Sir Mike the Hedge Knight. Want to talk today about something new to the game that came out just a couple of days ago. Iconic gear, or we should actually call them, I think, iconic items. So I think the first thing that we should do, if you go to your main roster page, in the upper right, you'll see the filter button. They've changed all the filters. So the buttons here are bigger. It's all iconography. They also added two new filter features. The one on the lower right under feature that says ally pair, it's pretty interesting. I think they could have done it a little bit better, but it will only sort for characters that have ally bonuses. But if they show them in pairs, wouldn't that be a lot better? The other filter they added is under feature is for these iconic items. So let's start with what are iconic items. They are not gear. They do not replace gear. They are not transferable like gear. They are items that are sort of married to the character that has them. The good news is you don't have to go get them. You get them automatically when any character who I guess is eligible to have an iconic item, and you'll see here they're starting with 10, although they promised more, which, who knows. Where the iconic item appears is on the bottom. They made some tweaks to this screen as well. Some good, some bad. Near the active skill and the leadership and passive skill button to the left, there's a larger box that displays Arya's iconic item, and you'll see this little lock symbol on it. It says 3-star. When you click on it, hey, iconic item unlocks at 3-star. So many of you may have all of these characters at 3-star already, and if you do, congratulations. You are now the proud owner of 10 iconic items. So now that we have these iconic items, what I'm not going to do in this video is go through each one and pros and cons, and that video would take an hour and a half because the items can actually be leveled up from level 1 to level 20. Every few levels, they either expand on an ability or grant a new ability. So there would be a lot to dive into for each iconic item, and to do that times 10, that would be, even for my standards, a little bit too lengthy of a video. So let's hop on to Ned. Gives you the name of his sword, thematic from the show, and it's telling you what the ability was, and you'll see when it says know the men who follow you, there's a little Roman numeral 2. That's because I've already leveled it up to the 2nd level. We could take a look at someone that we haven't leveled up, just so that we can sort of start from scratch. How about Khal Drogo? You'll see his iconic weapon is at 1, and he has a Khal's Iraq. So they explain what the ability is here, and they give a brief description below of the stat increases. Here, if you know the iconography, obviously there's attack. I think it's critical strike chance, and that other 1%, I don't know, critical damage? Not really sure. And what we do then is hit the upgrade button, and now you'll see horizontally that this Iraq can be upgraded all the way up to level 20. But you'll also see between a few levels, and it's like every 5 levels apart, you'll see a little lock symbol and a number of stars above it. And this is one of the problems that I have with the iconic items, because I like the concept. I like that it's not replacing legendary gear. I like that it's tied to the character. I can't build up this Khal's Iraq and give it to Ned Stark. Can't do that. This is only for Khal. You got to use, if you like this weapon, you got to use Khal Drogo. So they're now that we have Alliance War and you're using 4 teams, it's not like you're playing the same 5 characters for every single thing you do in the game anymore. So it's nice to have a little variety. However, even if you level this, or if you intend to level this weapon all the way up, you're still sort of gated by the number of stars you have for that character. So I kind of have mixed feelings on it. For the most part, I don't like that because I feel like this will increase the wealth gap in the game. The whales of the game, even the characters they didn't use, they're probably at 6 or 7 star because they've done so many summons. Maybe they've leveled Drogo up, maybe they haven't. Now they get this iconic item and they'll go out and they'll whale and they'll spend a bunch of money and they'll get all the resources and they'll get his item up to 20. And it's like, well, you already have this guy at 350, 7-star. Like, isn't that enough? Oh, now you have to give him an item that grants him all these new super powerful abilities. Whereas, the rest of us, maybe we can with our primary team. Maybe we have a couple of 7-star guys. Like I don't have anyone at 7, which means even if there were iconic items attached to those characters, I couldn't even get them. I think beyond level it's 15 or 16. We'll take a look at that in a moment. So it's the strong are going to continue to get stronger. And listen, let's face it, folks. It's I'm catering to a F2P and light spending audience, but how does Zynga stay in business? They need to make money. And this game has a couple of ads, like at the altar, or the daily summon, or an ad if you fail in an event in trials or in the crowns challenge. They don't make it a lot of it through ads. There's not that many ads in the game, which is great. But if there's not many ads in the game and they've got to make money, well, they've got to produce something that people will put money into. This is something I think the whales are going to put money into. And even if I wanted to put money into it, what I first have to do then is get Khal Drogo to 7-star. So now I've got to spend hundreds of dollars getting him to 7-star, and then I don't know how many, 100 or $200 building up his weapon. So it's now that the field has sort of caught up with the top players, they're introducing this, and this is the way these games go. Yeah, anyone that's played games other than this, I think you're familiar with this concept. They've got to keep making money. They got to keep the whales interested, and they got to keep them on top. So as soon as the average player base is starting to creep a little bit closer, they move the goalposts. They make it a little bit tougher to keep up unless you spend money. So, I'll get off the soapbox now and we'll take a look. So there's going to be 4 different rarities, let's say, of Valyrian essence that you use to level these weapons up. If you look on the bottom, just under upgrade, you see a little symbol there. We'll see that we're going to go into the Forge summon, which is a new summon where a little over 60% of the time you'll get some of these materials, the rarity at different drop rates, and a little under 40% of the time you're going to get some skill books. I was hoping you would get more. We'll talk about that when we get to the Forge summon. But every 5 levels, you use a different rarity of material. So for level 2, you look below, you'll see I actually have enough to upgrade this weapon, which I will not, and then 3, and then 4. Now between 4 and 5, before I even get to 5, I've got to have a character at 4-star, which I do not. And to get to 5, you still use that, what they call the minor Valyrian summon. And as soon as you get to 6, you'll see that the symbol on the bottom has changed. That's a major Valyrian shard. You could use that to get from 6 to 10. As soon as you want to get to 11, they changed the symbol again. That's the superior shard. Up to 15. And then the last 5 levels, 16 through 20, these are the legendary status, like the super rare essences. But what they did with these is they're color coded. So whereas the first 15 levels that you're going to upgrade, and level 1 you get, there is no level 0. When you have the weapon, it's level 1. So you only need 4 upgrades to get to level 5. All of those, no matter how much you have, you could use it for all the different iconic items in the game. Once you get up to level 16, you need these special super rare items, and they broke those down by color. So that is also going to make it very difficult, or very costly, I should say, to acquire enough of that. Like, you're going to have to be selective. So if random draw, you pull a couple of blues and a couple of greens, but now you get up to, maybe you have 5 red, but just to get from 15 to 16, you need 20 red, and then 25 and 30. Now you don't need a whole bunch, but to get through 5 levels, I don't know, that looks like it's about 150, 140, something like that. And they are super, super rare. So very difficult to max these iconic items out. And like I said, if they were generic, you could just get a bunch of them, put them in a pool, then decide later who you want. This is going to require some planning, because you'll see when we get to the Forge summon, there is bonus shards similar to when you summon legendary characters using green Splendid tokens and purple Grand Summoning tokens as well. So every 80 summons, you do get a bonus. So long before you have one of these items up near the point where you'll need these, you might want to start thinking about, well, who's a character? First, you got to think about who's a character I'm going to have at least 6-star. You can get to level 19 at 6-star. It's only the final level that you need 7-star. Who am I going to have that I use enough that's going to be 6-star? Then you have to look at the iconic item and say, is it worth it to invest in this character as opposed to someone else? And then I think you set your focus, you set your bonus shards, quote unquote, for the gem color that you want. So, in a nutshell, that is iconic items. That is how you level them. Going into your summoning menu, it's just over where the green splendid summons are. You'll see the Forge summon. It's here for 657 days. So it's it's a year beyond the green splendid token summons. So it's going to be here forever. Let's put it that way. And we click on it to take a look at our iconic materials. But if you look in the upper left, these are different summoning tokens. They're not entirely difficult to get. You see some in Legendary Assault. There might have been an Alliance War, or there might be a Raid Reward. You know, they kind of sprinkled them around. Now hitting on the percentage icon in the lower right, you'll see, almost 63% of the time for each summon, you're going to get some iconic materials. And they show you the five, with the legendary gold background. Those are the super rare ones that are by color. And then on the bottom, the second row, they actually have them a little out of order for whatever reason. It's major, then superior, then minor. Not sure why they're trying to trick anyone, but clicking on the minor, you'll see what looks like 26, 8, looks like 40% of the time you're going to get minor Valyrian Essence, 10, 15, or 20. Oops, sorry, that's superior. 17% of the time you're going to get major. 5% of the time you're going to get superior, so that's pretty low. And wait till you see these, specific ones, super rare. You're just not going to get that many. So that's how you get the iconic materials, through this summon. But you don't get it 100% of the times. They also put in a way to get skill books, even all the way up to and including master skill books, which is great. And then you look at the drop rate and say, oh, okay, I get it. So in a million years, like, I might get this pull once. So you're not gonna don't look at this and think you're gonna get a whole bunch of master skill books. However, when choosing to get your bonus shards on the 80th summon, they did include these skill books. Now you can get 12 of the really good color specific materials. So that's probably what we should all do, is start getting those in anticipation of, I know I'm going to need these at some point in time, and the drop rate is very low. However, you'll notice that I have mine set to the Master Strategist book. On my primary team, I have 3 strategists. Like, I'm going to need a ton of these. They're very difficult to get. And I have a couple of my strategists already at 6-star. And the other one will be 6 at some point. And then eventually you get to set, like, this is something I might need relatively soon. And when I looked at the iconic items, if you saw my roster when I did sorted by filter, I don't have any of them above 4. So I don't need any of these fancy, colorful looking gems until I at least get to 6-star anyway. And for my non-primary team, how long is it going to take for me to get a 4-star net all the way up to 6? Long time. Long time. So I'm not 100% sure yet. I may switch this back to the gems just because. But I might just take the master skill book. I think I can use that. I could use that either now or imminently. And these gems I might not use for 6 to 12 months. Like, who knows if the game's still around by then. So that is what is going on here. And let's just run through a summon real quick, because it'll be easier than me explaining the drop rate. I was hopeful when they put the skill books in. I said, hey, here's a good way of getting skill books. But as you can see, now, so this is basically the worst possible summon you could have gotten. When it came to the shards, I got 6 of the most common shard. In addition, I only got 10 of them. I didn't have any 15s or 20s. Didn't get any of the major, any of the superior. Skill books, I got a couple of apprentice and some novice, but it's like 1, 2, 1. So when I first saw this, I got excited and I said, okay, they've heard us. They've heard that we need more skill books in the game. Here's a way to get them. Don't kid yourself. I'm glad I had enough tokens to show it to you. You're not going to get a lot of skill books. You're just not. I mean, if you have 500 of these yellow, if you go out and buy a bunch because you're sold on these iconic items and you want to build them up, I guess you'll get a decent amount of skill books. You're just not, like, it's just easier to farm the campaign. You're going to get far more farming the campaign. Now, the campaign is not going to give you any expert or master skill books, but the drop rate is so ridiculously low that this just, to me, is not a viable way of accumulating skill books. One last thing, talking about these materials, and this really surprised me. So if we go back into our roster and we click on iconic items, when they did the skill books, the first couple of levels, you just need the white skill books, and then they added the apprentice, but you still needed some white skill books. I think they're novice skill books. Even at the higher levels, you needed multiple rarities of skill books to progress in the level. At this point, I actually am good on my apprentice skill books. I'm short on the commons. Like some of these high level skills, I need 170 or 220 of the commons. Like that takes some time to get. But when you look at the iconic, I kind of breezed through this quickly earlier, but every 5 levels they change the material and you don't need the base material anymore. So when you go into that yellow token summon, and what was it, about 40% of the time you're going to get the minor Valerian essence, very soon I will have enough. I mean, very soon, I should have enough of the minor Valerian essence to get all 9, because I don't have all 10 characters unlocked. Arya is only 2-star. To get all 9 of my iconic items, at least to level 4. And if I have the character at 4-star, I can get them to level 5 as well. And then until they release new iconic items, I'll never need the minor Valerian essence again, which is really surprising because over time it's gonna become like iron. You're gonna get all your iconic items to 4. Once you got a character to 4-star, you're gonna get them to 5, and then you're gonna just amass just a horde, just a mountain of these, and then you're gonna be waiting. And as soon as a new iconic item comes out, it only costs a few hundred to get it from level 1 to level 5. You're gonna zoom it up to 5, and it just we're gonna have so much of these. I thought they would have done it. I like their skill book system, where it's not just you need them for the first 2 levels and then you never need the novice books again, ever again for the entirety of the game. You always need them until you get to like skill level 8 or 9 when they get rid of the commons and then you need a bunch of apprentice and a bunch of expert and some master skill books. So I don't know if they put a lot of thought into this. It seems very rudimentary. And the fact that these summons, if there's a deal out there to buy these yellow summoning tokens, I'm not interested. I'd rather buy the materials because as you saw with the summon I did in this video, all I got was a bunch of miners. I got 60 miners. 2 weeks from now, I'm not going to need any miners. Maybe 3 weeks. You tell me. I'm not going to need any of those. Period. So what are these yellow summon tokens doing for me? Getting me one novice beast skill book like that? You know, Thank you very little. Like that. That just doesn't interest me. So wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. That's all we've got. Comment below. Let me know what you think about these iconic items, and we will see you soon.